Drogba indirdi ceza. Snyder. Snyder gol! Allah'ım gol!
Muslera! Fernando Muslera! Golün adı Muslera!
Sarıyoglu. Drogba! This is incredible!
Merhaba and welcome to episode 44 of The Lion's Den, a Galatasaray podcast done by the community, for the community. From Toronto, Ontario, Canada, I'm your host for today, Jun. I'm here with our very own historian Salih from Netherlands. Unfortunately, the rest of the gang was a bit busy today. Obviously, we're doing some recording midweek after our midweek match, but Salih saved the day. So welcome, Salih. How are you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling great. Another win, as predicted last week. Would have been a tough game, but yeah, we did sail the win in the end with a 3-2 win. Really glad that happened. We came from behind, so it's much more I can say about it. What about you? How are you doing? My former roommate for 2-3 days.
That's right. I'm doing well. Glad to be back for another one. It's funny. When I was listening to our last episode, I had a chuckle when I was listening to it, and I had a laugh while we were recording it as well when Samet mentioned how Ümraniye was the Barcelona of the league. Mm-hmm. I found that hilarious, and I don't know, man. I don't know if it's Ümraniye that's the Barcelona of the league, or if it's Geraldo that plays like he's from Barcelona,
yeah,
right? But
exactly.
Yeah, but
honestly, this Geraldo is like, to me, he felt like he's a twin of Wakeme. Same type of moves, baldy, same color, but on the opposite wing. And man, what a game he had. But we'll get to that later on.
We will, for sure. Before that, we have some business to take care of. There's a bit of news over the last few days. We'll get into two departures first that I think we were all expecting and waiting to see sort of the notice from the club. Mm-hmm. It was a matter of time. We have Seferovic going to Spain, Celta Vigo, and Van Aanholt going home to PSV.
PSV. Yes, exactly.
There you go. Good thing I had the Dutchie with me today, right? But yeah, what do you think about that? Like I said, I think we were, expecting it for a while now, and definitely no surprises whatsoever. But and by the way, I forgot to mention Van Aanholt has just gone on loan. Seferovic was already loaned to us. He was never our player to begin with. But what do you think of these departures?
I think, just like you mentioned, the right move. Seferovic was brought in as a striker that we desperately needed after seeing how we just couldn't finish our chances last year. And evidently, he just wasn't the solution. In the friendlies, he did look good, but afterwards, did he even score a goal, now that I think of it? Like an official Super League goal? If he has, maybe one. It just hasn't worked out, unfortunately, for him. And yeah, I think this move is best for both parties. I mean, he wasn't our player, but still, like, he does want to play, obviously, and he found a new club. So I guess good luck to him. Nothing more to say. So yeah, that's what I think on Seferovic. After that, I'll talk about Van Aanholt. But what do you think of the move? Like, it's the right move, right? I don't think anyone will complain.
I mean, I can't see how we would have used him this year, honestly. Like, I think that when he first came, obviously we thought he would be more useful. And then when Icardi came, I think everyone sort of thought, we have Icardi and Seferovic as the backup. But then when Gomis started playing miraculously and scoring these miraculous goals, that kind of slipped away from Seferovic, right? Mm-hmm. And at that point, it's like, we have Icardi who's no one's playing over him. Obviously, that's a given. We have Gomis. Barish played striker a couple times and ended up scoring. So it just gets to a point where it's like, really, what is the point of having Seferovic? I think he was in bad form. Confidence was down a little bit. So yeah, I can't really complain about that.
Especially since he's a foreigner. Like in Turkey, unfortunately, due to him being a foreigner, he holds an extra valuable spot. And that's a spot that we can use for something else on some other areas that we need reinforcement. Not that luckily, like it's a privilege, but not that I can name that many positions that we really need reinforcement in. But yeah, I mean, it's just another foreigner we don't need, so boot him out.
Yep. For sure, absolutely. And then with Van Aanholt, everyone again saw that coming. I mean, he's just been on a pretty steady decline. He's not the player that he was last season. A lot of mistakes. He's been in bad form. Really frustrating to watch. Zero quality from the left. I'm still thinking about one game we mentioned on the podcast as well, when he had a cross that he literally sent into the opposite corner flag. So yeah, we kind of saw that coming. And I'm sure even when the loan spell is done, he won't be returning. He'll be, I don't want to say sold. It'll probably be a free transfer, but he'll be going somewhere permanently, whether it's somewhere in the Netherlands or somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it has to be for. I mean, is it going to be for free though? If I recall correctly, his contract does not expire this year, right? Because otherwise, a loan move would be kind of weird to do right now, and a deal would have been sealed already. I think he still has a year after that, and then indeed it's the question on what are we going to do with him. Last year, I did think he was pretty good. I mean, he isn't injured. He was always there when we needed him, compared to like players like Sarachi who were good but just weren't there. But now this year, again, just like you mentioned, he's fallen off really hard. We're playing plays like Emre Tasdemir. Look, he's a good player, but again, like a player who's never available. Kazımcan, we've basically moved on from him because just like in the beginning of the season, Okan uses fullbacks in a different way. He needs fullbacks who can deliver, and unfortunately, he's one of those fullbacks who can't really cross the ball properly. He has other qualities, but those are not the ones that we need. So with this one, again, I think thank you for his services, but I think he's in a better place now.
Yeah, I agree fully. And then sort of on the other side of that, there's a few names that could be coming. So before we get into that, discuss the names, pretty much every source has reported the same thing, and it's that Okan Buruk has asked for a type of, real attack-minded winger. And also, apparently, he's interested in a player that can play on the wing and also in the midfield, kind of like how Mertens is, right? So with that said, there's been a couple names floating around. Yesterday, there were one or two people reporting that we were interested in Fabio Borini from Karagümrük. A few sources said we were interested, and then a couple of sources said that it's a lie, which I think it might be a lie, but we'll see what happens there. And then the other two names floating around are Nicolo Zaniolo from Roma and Pulisic from Chelsea. So honestly, a couple decent names there. I think from the three, I'm not sure about you, Salih, but I think for me, I think, obviously Pulisic is the best player in my opinion. But I think Zaniolo would fit in our team better, having that Italian background. I think that he would mesh better with the players that we have. The like Mertens, the Spanish players that we have. He was at Inter as well. I think at the same time Icardi was there. So I think in terms of vibing with our team, which at this point honestly could be more important than just signing a better player, I think Zaniolo might be a better move, but it's so hard to say that because Pulisic is good, man. Pulisic is really good. But what do you think?
Of the three targets that you just mentioned, of the two, the problem that I have with both, it's going to sound maybe a bit weird, but look, name-wise, yeah, they're definitely quality, right? They're hands down an upgrade over what we have right now on the wing. We could use that. The thing is with both players is that they're, again, both injury prone. Now, with Zaniolo, I think that's, if we're going to actually sign him, I think that's less of a problem considering the finances, because we also need to take that into consideration if you look at his wage. But Pulisic is on a pretty high wage. He earns around 150k right now a week, which means he would have to at least take a 50% wage cut in order to move here. And would you do that? I don't think so. Even though Chelsea have bought like every player on the planet right now, I think he rather waits that out. So of the two, I would say that Zaniolo makes more sense. And Borini is the type of signing that just tells me that we're really pushing the championship basically this year. Because he's a 31-year-old player. We just want him short term, bang some goals for us in, deliver, and then win the Super League, as we all are trying right now. It's basically just to stay ahead. We're just reinforcing on our strong areas. That's what Borini feels to me.
Right.
Again, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I don't know if these were mentioned as loan deals for Pulisic or Zaniolo. I'm not entirely sure about that. Borini, of course, was just to outright transfer, but those two were still early with these rumors, so not really that much has developed. But I guess we'll see what happens with that. It's interesting, but I think before the window closes, I think we'll definitely make an honest push, an honest effort to try to sign maybe not a player on this list, but that type of player that can play on that wing and can also play inside a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that. I wouldn't mind bringing someone in. I don't, like I mentioned, a few of us mentioned the last episode, I don't think Rashica is up to that level right now, So I think a little more quality on that side will do us a lot of good, but we'll see what happens. There's some time before the window closes.
So far the transfers have been really good, like really promising, a good mix between youth and experience too. So just like you mentioned, I also expect us to push for a good transfer in the coming days, which is quality, right? Not who can I mention? I don't know, a Panic Jugnet type buy, right? I don't expect that. I expect actually well thought type transfer. And whatever Okan says, I'll accept it. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, me too. And one last thing before we transition into the actual match. It's so funny. What if after this match, we look at ourselves and we say, bro, let's go after Geraldo.
Geraldo?
Yeah. Bro, honestly, if someone said Geraldo's the best winger in the league, I wouldn't argue with them that much. He's kind of crazy, that guy. Do you not agree?
He is. I mentioned in the group too, I saw this guy play one of the first matches against Fener too. I was like, who is this guy? He has these sexy moves and shit, right? I was like, damn, he looks like a true baller. He's a bit on the older side, 31. But again, today he showed that too. He was by far their best player. Really threatening, even though they played on the counter still. Man, the thing is, with a lot of Super League players, I also usually don't know where they were from. But apparently this guy played for Ankara before.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I searched him up, tried to figure out who this guy was. I did see that. But yeah, I don't know. Just a thought I had during the match, thinking about, before the match, the Pulisic rumors and stuff. And then during the match, someone in that position just shredding us pretty much for the first half. So
we could get him for cheap too if you wanted to, because his contract expires at the end of the year, which means the fee is pretty low, I would assume. He's 31 years old too. That will be like we mentioned, the Borini type deal. Just a deal to quickly get someone in, add some depth, and then push on for the championship. As we've been winning like all these matches in a row now. Just continue the streak.
Yep. So I think that kind of leads us right into the match. I'll introduce it. We'll get into it here. Lots to talk about. Lots of drama, ups, downs. We'll get into it now. This was round 22 of the Super League. We were at home against Ümraniyespor. This one finished 3-2. Very sweaty. Very, very sweaty one. We had goals from Abdulkarim in the 32nd minute, Icardi in the 60th, and Icardi again in the 83rd with the match winner. We'll go through the starting 11 here. So we had Muslera, Sasha Boy, Victor Nelson, Abdulkarim, Emre Tashdemir, Sergio Oliveira, Lucas Torreira, Mertens, Kerem, Rashica, and Icardi. We'll go through the match stats as well. 67% possession for us, 33% for Ümraniye, who went a man down in the 77th minute. So be mindful of that with that stat. Funny enough, shots were 26-6 for Galatasaray. And we had an XG of 3.19 compared to Ümraniye's 1.09. And our highest rated player tonight was Mauro Icardi with 8.6 rating. And the worst was pretty much a tie between Rashica and Emre Tashdemir, who both came off at halftime, which I'll speak about just briefly. But if we could just go through the sort of the match events before we dive a little deeper. So Ümraniye surprisingly went ahead 1-0 in the 11th minute. There was the assist by Geraldo to Umut Nair. That was in the 11th minute. In the 32nd minute, Abdulkarim scored from a corner. That tied it 1-1. And then before the second half, in the 39th minute, Ümraniye went ahead 2-1. Again,
same
mostly
type of goal too. Like
mostly created by Geraldo, I think, again, who sort of made a run down that side, if I remember correctly. But yes, you're right. Same type of goal. The second half started. We took out Emre Tashdemir and Rashica for Leo Dubois and Yunus. Icardi scored a penalty in the 60th minute to make it 2-2. Ümraniye got the red card in the 77th minute. They went down 10 men to give us a little bit of freedom to play a bit more and try to get the winner, which we did. Icardi scored the second goal, assisted by a beautiful ball in by Abdulkarim. That made it 3-2. And that's all she wrote. It was 3-2 finish. Maybe I guess I'll just give my overall thoughts and then pass it on to you and we'll go from there. But, you know, again, like I mentioned earlier, when they went ahead 1-0, I couldn't help but think about Samet's comment, the Barcelona comment. And I was like, oh my God, it's actually happening. But honestly, you know, I think that these guys, I can sort of understand why they're in last place, honestly. Like, when they were attacking, I didn't really feel threatened at all unless Geraldo was involved in it somehow. You know, when he was involved, especially in the first half, he was absolutely shredding everyone on the left side. Like Emre Tashdemir stand no chance. The match honestly could have been like 3-0 for them in the first half, honestly.
Oh, definitely.
Easily.
Muslera had some clutch saves, like 3 of them in total.
Yeah. And there was one chance they had, the one that kind of went through Muslera's legs and then he recovered it. I looked away. I thought it was in. I looked away and then in the chat I wrote 2-0. Right?
I actually saw that because you guys are ahead. And I was like, fuck, did it actually go in? And then I kept watching and it stood just 1-0. I was like, thank God that didn't go in. But man, I had the exact same moment.
Honestly, I looked away. I saw it go through his legs. I just looked away from the TV. I wrote 2-0 in the chat. I was because I had the volume low as well. It's midweek game. You know, I'm doing some work on the side and stuff. And then I look back and it's in his hands. Couldn't believe it, bro. Could not believe it. But yeah, that's Muslera doing Muslera things. But honestly, I have to give credit to Ümraniye. Like they scored 2 in the first half. Although a lot of it was through Geraldo, you know, they were doing well. It looked like they could have taken points from us easily here, which wasn't the case, thankfully. But what did you think about the match overall and our performance, Ümraniye's performance?
Of course. Yeah, this is the type of Ümraniye that I just expected. I just like last week, I expected them to, because I don't think they play bad football. For a team that is bottom, which I still can't really believe, I think they've been more unlucky, really, with these late losses that they keep getting. But the first half, for me, was mixed, because I think in attack, although we weren't as clinical, I think we looked very motivated and hungry when going forward. However, our backline was open 24/7 like a petrol station. Like, they just kept coming. And luckily we had Muslera, which, look, he only had to make 3 saves this entire game. But those 3 saves in the first half, because, again, Ümraniye only took shots in the first half. Those 3 saves were really important. If the ball that went through between his legs went in, or there were 2 shots from the sides, I think, as well. If those went in, I think this game would have been completely different. Also, that would have been the first time we conceded 3 goals in a match this season. which, by the way, I couldn't believe until I looked it up, right? Because last year we had a few games against, I don't know, random Hatay or something. We would lose 4-0.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was a mixed bag. Generally speaking, I was still happy with it. But we did go the half down, right? We were 1-2 behind, which is never a good thing. And if our listeners have been listening well, or just watching the games in general, of course, you'll know that usually the second half, we come out really sluggish and not as, we don't kick it right away. That also luckily didn't happen. The one thing that popped into my mind is something you usually mention, is that one video from that coach during halftime where he gives a slap to everyone, like, fucking man up.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what happened. Because second half, Ümraniye had no chance. They were just ball watching. Literally.
Yeah, no, honestly, like you mentioned, that half finished 2-1 for Ümraniye, but just as I said, it could have been 3-0 at the end of that half. We honestly could have scored 3 goals that half as well. Like right from the get-go, like in the first 2 minutes, I remember I told all the boys in the chat, like, we look like we're in one of our moods tonight where we're going to score like 5-6 goals. We were just pushing forward any given chance. So, at the same time, we could have scored a bunch of goals as well. In the first half, Icardi missed a really great chance with the ball on his left that went over the net. That could have easily been a goal. And we were pushing, man.
And that Orkun had also one of those nights that, the typical Anadolu teams have with their keeper. He was immense. He had a lot of saves.
Yeah, he had some great saves, absolutely, for sure. There was also another chance earlier before that Icardi chance I just mentioned where Mertens had pretty much the same chance just on the other side. He went over the net as well. So, both sides could have scored more goals than they actually did in the first half. But what I was curious about was what our response was going to be. Like, things are all fine and dandy when you're winning 3-0 at halftime, but when you have 45 minutes left to play and you're down against the last place team, that's when pressure starts creeping up on you. Literally every minute, the pressure just builds and builds and builds. So, I was interested to see how we were going to respond to that. And I have to say, really, the second half started like the opposite of how it usually does, honestly. Like you mentioned, for some reason, we always come out of the gates a little like we look like we're caught off guard or something. But no, honestly, everyone looked switched on. Everyone looked like they knew what needed to be done. There was belief in the team clearly, and Icardi got the 2 goals, which were just fantastic. And one other person I wanted to mention as well was Abdul Karim. I have to give him a lot of credit with one complaint, one piece of criticism. Obviously, he scored the first goal, like I mentioned, fantastic. He got the assist on Icardi's 3rd goal, which was a beautiful ball in that he played. Which, by the way, that goal Icardi scored looked almost identical to the goal he scored a few weeks ago, if you remember, on a header. It was literally almost like the same exact type goal, which I found interesting. But back to Abdul Karim, I have to give him credit for that and credit for playing a good game for the most part. He's been one of our most consistent players this season, I think. My only complaint that I could make was I really don't think he did well against Geraldo today. Geraldo burned him so many times. And it's like in the first half, there was a challenge where Geraldo beat one man. It might have been Emre or it might have been Kerem. And then Abdul Karim came over and Abdul Karim slid. Geraldo just pushed it right past him and he was in a lot of free space. And then that happened a second time.
Exactly.
And then a third time. And it's like, dude, how many times is he going to do the same thing to you without you, adjusting or making the change? So I have to sort of discredit him for that. But other than that, I thought he played amazing.
That's just a theme with Abdul Karim in general. He likes to, as a defender, sometimes overcommit. Be it a sliding, be it going forward too much. Because at some points during the game, this guy was like in a penalty box while we were, not penalty box, but like close to the box. While we were just passing it around. I was like, I like it because he's not bad on the ball or anything. I mean, he used to be a left back before, so he's not the typical clunky defender that you think of, like King Min Jae. I know Yasin won't like this, but that is true. Like, again, this overcommitment sometimes, but that also has its plus sides. How many times did this guy like drive forward with the ball
Yeah,
and just
for
cross
sure.
the line, and then not all passes connected, but most of them did. And the thing is with him, I don't know if it's because we are in general pretty dominant or not, but I don't see Nelson as much anymore. I do still see him, but I only
That's
see
kind
him
of true. Yeah.
when we're only on the back foot. But we're not really on the back foot anymore as much. He's just in the back keeping it steady, but he's not really in the spotlight anymore. Last year that was very different.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, yeah, I never really have anything to complain about when it comes to Nelson. Like when it comes to defending, he always does the job. Always. Like I don't want to jinx him now, but there's so few occasions where I was like, bro, what are you doing? That almost never happens. But just quickly going back to Abdulkarim, one last thing. I think it also was a credit to him when Leo Dubois came in, which made, it's not easy playing next to Emre Tashdemir. Like, I'm just going to be flat out. It's not an easy task. It makes your job more difficult. So I think when Dubois came in, I think Geraldo was contained a lot more. He might have skipped away a couple times here and there.
But he does that to everyone, so.
Yeah, it's not like playing against Emre Tashdemir where he's just like a tomato can. You can just skip by him whenever you want, So yeah, I have to give it to Abdulkarim. But one other thing I wanted to mention, which, I don't mean to be like a broken record and say this every single week, but it's not only is this true, it does happen every single week. Lucas Torreira is an astonishing football player. I don't know what else to say about him. He is outrageous. He's outrageous. And this is coming from someone who, my favorite Galatasaray player of all time is Felipe Melo.
Mm-hmm.
He's my favorite player of all time. And I can confidently say Felipe Melo can't really stand next to Torreira, man. Torreira's a different player.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I wish Torreira had that Felipe Melo has was a few more screws that were loose. Felipe Melo had that crazy passion. He'd win a tackle and start like screaming, like pumping his fists and stuff. If Torreira had that,
a bit more
oh my lord. Oh my God. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say about him, man. Like every week he plays a near perfect game. And every week I say to myself, I can't believe this guy's not on loan. I can't believe Arsenal let him go for 6 million or whatever it was.
That's the exact thing that you just mentioned. I can't believe that we just bought this guy. He's not on loan. He has a good age. I say good age. I think he's 26, if I recall correctly. He's an absolute beast of a player. Look, not only does he win his duels, he wins fouls. He tries. He's complete. He reminds me of what player again? Kante. Not, of course, not this year, but like a few years back. This guy just never gets tired. He's always everywhere, and he picks off the ball. And having a player like him is really just handy to have, not only for your defense, but also for a player like Oliveira, which we'll get onto in a bit as well. Because I don't think that defensively he's not as mobile as like Torreira. Torreira does like everything. He's like everywhere.
Literally, you can't escape him. You literally can't escape him. Like even a minute ago when I was mentioning how, in the second half, there might have been a couple times Geraldo got away. I can't remember if this case was, if in this case it was Geraldo, but Abdulkarim did his classic slide again. The player skipped right by him.
Yeah.
Boom, all of a sudden, Lucas Torreira he's tracked all the way back and won the ball. Like, I didn't even see this guy running. He just appeared and won the ball,
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It's such a privilege to have him. He of all the signings, I think he's the best one. Not only financially, if you look at it, because again, let's say in a few years when we want to sell him, he's still a sellable asset in the end. But also just, has he had a stinker so far? I can't really say so.
I would say not. Like I said, it feels like he's playing perfect matches every single week. Like, and I guess that's just, I guess that just speaks to his quality compared to the league. He's just head and shoulders above the league. Like there's no team, even the apparent top teams in this league are nothing compared to Torreira. And I find it just utterly comical that there's comparisons between him and other players like Crespo, for example. I mean that truly
get
leaves
outta
me
here.
speechless. Like if you're even using those two names in the same sentence, you really have to reevaluate your knowledge of football just from top to bottom, because that is a joke.
I think
Crespo has never been anywhere near Torres level ever.
I think people who say that probably know it too, but you know, you have to be a fan, kind of take the pride.
Yeah,
Deep down,
yeah.
you know, it's not the same. It's like Herrera from Wish, basically.
Yeah, I know those ones. I know those ones. Same exact thing with the Ener Valencia Icardi argument. You know,
Just get it out of
we
here.
don't even have to comment on that. But anyways, that kind of leads us into the big guy himself, Mauro Icardi. 2 more goals, tally him up. And you know, he's another one. I would have to pair him and Torreira together in terms of players that are just head and shoulders above the league that should not be playing in this league. They're just way too good. And Icardi is like, it's just everything he does. Everything. It's not just scoring. It's everything he does, how involved he is. And like, you know, he gets a little bit of criticism for taking off for like 2 or 3 days after the match, going on like mini holidays and stuff. But who cares, man? Who cares? When he's on the pitch, he's playing to win.
Maybe as
He's
a clause
playing to win.
in his contract that if he plays like good for 2-3 games, he can smash Wanda again.
Well, I'm sure, you know, if he plays 1 or 2 games, he can take the jet wherever he wants. I'm sure that's one of his privileges. But honestly, like one of the worries I had when he first came was like, how serious is he going to take this? You know, is he just going to treat this as like a little holiday? But when he's on the field, he's ready to play. He's ready to win. He does. He honestly does. And there was one moment in the match where Yunus got into a little argument with someone from the other team, and Icardi came like storming in to defend him right away.
End of the game,
and
right?
Near the end of the game, yeah. And that just speaks to like, I can't remember the last time a team had this type of like chemistry and just vibe with each other. I'm really not sure when the last time this was.
Can't think of it either.
Yeah. What do you think about it? What do you think about the big man though? What do you think?
What do I think of the big man? Look, generally speaking, I'm really, really happy with him. He does everything, basically, what you want out of a striker. At least he's a complete forward. Let me put it that way. He creates, he scores. Of course, he has to score, but it's not just a poacher. He can also do it in different ways. I do have to say, besides the 2 goals, I think his impact, I mean, look, the goals do have a very heavy impact, but I think this was not one of his better games, if I do have to say so myself. He was just a little bit less involved compared to other games, which is not a bad thing in the end. I mean, we did win, and he did score the 2 winners. Especially the penalty. I was a bit, you know, because last week he did miss it. So what is he going to do?
I held my breath. I'll say that. I held my breath for sure, yeah.
Then he did a Panenka. Absolute baller.
Yeah, no. Oh my God, man. Like the balls on this guy. The balls on this guy, like, because, you know, he was put in a position here where you have to score. If you don't score that penalty, we're in big trouble. You know, we're still losing. Our morale is taking a dive after that. We're in a lot of trouble. You know, that's when the fans start getting demotivated, getting a little more quiet. And this is the penalty he takes. This is what he does from the spot. I was just speechless. I'm speechless with him. Man. What a baller.
Just like Mazar said, you know, from the wisdom from his ass, he's basically probably one of the best strikers we've ever seen in Super League. He really does.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And like, do you not think that he truly makes everyone around him better?
He does. Because
like that's one thing I have to give it to him.
He can't pass the ball. He does have like a few weeks, maybe it's a few months back, like that one goal. I can't remember which match it was again, but when maybe it was Başakşehir, I actually can't remember, but his assist was like the Guti type assist, right, with the back heel. So
yeah, that was against Başakşehir, where Kerem scored, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
like that type of stuff. I mean, that's just sexy, man. Like, what can you say about it?
And it's like those little one-touch passes he makes, like in and out of the box. You know, with like his back turned towards the net, they'll give him the ball, and he'll make one touch back, one touch to another player. Like he does everything. Like you mentioned, really, I think the definition of a complete forward. And I think at this point, there's still months left of the season, of course, but at this point, we really have to start taking into consideration, how do we bring him in permanently? How do we structure a deal to satisfy all parties? Like, we have to start thinking about that right now, because we need him. It's as simple as that. We need him.
We do. He's not like the Gomez transfer, as in he's 29, 30. He still has probably
Crazy.
3-4 good years in him left.
Crazy.
Only thing is, of course, he comes from fucking Paris, an oil club. He earns like a shit ton. Like, he would have to sacrifice a lot to come here. Yeah. I mean, money-wise, not love-wise or fan-wise, just money-wise.
Yeah, for sure. And like, he has to ask himself as well, what is it that he wants at this stage of his career? Does he want to play at the highest level, or does he want to play somewhere like Galatasaray, where it's playing in this league is not the highest level, but we could have Europe next season. He has these players that clearly he's having the time of his life
basically. He'll be the man. Together with Torreira.
Exactly. So do you want that, or are you in the mood to fight for a spot at the highest level? That's something he'll have to ask himself as well. But I think at this stage in February, we need to start thinking about how to bring him in permanently. Especially if we're in Europe, he'll be a massive asset. But I wanted to ask as well what you thought about Okan Buruk's subs this match.
I was just going to ask that to you.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, at the start of the second half, we had Emre Tasdemir and Rashica come off for Leo Dubois and Yunus. And then in the 76th minute, we had Sergio come out for Mata. And then in the 79th minute, we had Mertens come out for Gomis. And in the 81st minute, we had Barish come in for Kerem. And those last three subs I mentioned were, obviously for us trying to chase the third goal, the winner, which we did eventually. But what do you think of Okan? What do you rate Okan Buruk this match? And what do you think about his subs?
I would rate him, if I would have to start with the lineup, that's just the most important thing. I wasn't actually expecting Rashica to start again. I thought Dubois would start in place of Emre Tasdemir, and then a Barış or a Yunus on the wing. I actually expected Yunus more. So lineup, I was a bit like, okay, different from what I expected. Wasn't too big fan of it, but the rest is basically as strong as you can get. There's no better players that could have replaced any of like an Icardi or a Torreira.
Yeah.
Then the subs. Sure. I was happy with the halftime subs. Those were exactly the two players which were just not having a good game. Like Emre Tasdemir basically, in a way, cost us a goal or goals.
Yeah.
And Rashica, I don't know. Look, I always make fun of Yasin not being able to pronounce names, but this
Caught
name,
in 4K, bro.
Yeah, this
Rashica.
Rashica. I keep saying like Rasika or something. I don't know why. Rashica. Rashica is. Look, for him it was opposite. Of course, he did track back, etc., and did defend, but like going forward, he didn't really have that impact, like that finesse that we needed. So right subs, I was happy with both, like Yunus to come in, Dubois. Of the two, I would say Yunus did have a bit of a better game. I think Dubois defensively was much better than Emre Tasdemir, but he had some like fluky moments, like where he lost the ball for no, like he would slip, he couldn't touch, take the ball like in a good way or whatever. He lost the ball a few times, like very clunkily. I was like, what happened? Last week you were like the star. This week you suddenly forgot how to play ball.
But still head and shoulders above Emre Tasdemir. That I'm sure everyone can agree on.
Yes, that is true. I did make fun of him a bit, but of course he was still better than Emre Tasdemir. And then Mata came on. I mean, again, Oliveira also wasn't having the best game. I think defensively he was okay. It's just going forward again, he didn't really add anything. And that's, in my opinion, Oliveira's strength going forward, not really defending. Because he's usually just too late with most of the stuff he has to do.
Yeah, I was happy with that sub. I felt like aside from Rashica and Emre Tasdemir, I thought that Sergio was probably the third weakest.
Worst. Yeah.
Like, not to say he did anything particularly bad, but he was a little bit invisible in the second half, I think. And I don't know, just doing kind of Sergio things that we've seen recently, just losing the ball here and there, not being very impactful. Like, not to say that he put in a bad performance, but he was just a little bit invisible. So I was happy with the Mata sub as well, which, you know, he had like 15 minutes or so to work. So I think for the role that we need Mata to play, I think that's pretty good.
It is. It is. He was just decent when he came on. And on Sergio, on the typical Sergio things, there was this one moment where he was supposed to receive a ball, and it was a player just running from behind trying to get it. He was just standing there. It was just, I was like either they don't communicate, but I don't believe that. He probably just was too slow to react, and he lost the ball for no reason. I think that was second half too, if I recall correctly. But yeah, those 3 subs made sense. And then the other 2, I feel like are more just to rest a Kerem or a Mertens, basically. It's the 80th minute.
Yeah, and like I said, trying to push for the winner as well,
exactly.
right?
Getting Gomis in your talisman who can score like
yes,
a 0.05 XG type goal.
Exactly what I was going to say. Like, who else, who's better when there's 10 minutes left and we need a goal? You know, maybe not historically, but this season, who's better than that? Someone who's just going to score like some worldy ass goal in like the 90th minute. Exactly what you said, 0.05 XG. Somehow he scores.
It felt like a superstitious type move, as in he was subbed in at the 79th minute and he always scores after the 80th. So
yeah.
Go in and just score. We need the winner. And Barish, he's just annoying to deal with, if you get what I mean, right? He's just physical. He's just that guy. And instead of Kerem was also fine in my books. Kerem needs to be subbed off, not only to be rested, but his game was just okay. I don't think he was super today. It was all right. He had a few nice passes, but
for me, like I agree with everything. I thought all the subs made sense. I thought they were all good. The ones at the second half I thought were desperately needed, and Okan answered. And like I'd probably have to give Okan, I would give him like an 8.5 out of 10 rating for today. You know, possibly pushing a 9. Really, the only thing I could knock him for is starting Emre Tashdemir, because I think, like, if we don't have the Turkish options, I think we should just sort of, like, we need to use Leo Dubois, and then we have to decide if we want to use Barish or Yunus on the right side. You know, like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I think Kazımcan is still, I think he's still injured. I'm not entirely sure about Kazımcan or if he's available, but Emre Tashdemir needs to stop playing.
That was going to be my question, because Kazımcan has been on the bench now for this game and the last game too.
Okay.
But he hasn't started yet, so...
Interesting.
That's what I wonder too, because I would start Kazımcan ahead of Emre Tashdemir. But
yes, yeah.
Maybe it's not quite ready, but then why would you make the bench, I would say?
Yeah. And I mean, look, like, our next game is in a few days here against Trabzon at home. Like, it's an absolutely massive game. And I don't see how we can play with either Kazımcan or Emre Tashdemir. Like, I think it has to be Leo Dubois that's playing. It has to be, you know? And I mean, we're lucky in the sense that we have this whole foreign thing. It's worked out. We've worked it out. We know how to do it now. We either have the foreign left back or the foreign winger. Right? We've made it simple for ourselves. Those are the two that we can interchange. Everything else, everyone's pretty set in their positions for the most part, right? But, you know, we have, in these bigger games, I just don't think we have the option to play the foreign winger, because our left back will just be so weak it's just so weak on that left side. And then, like I mentioned, you have Abdul Kerem, who's always having to come over to recover those positions that the left back lost. And it makes it messy, you know? So this game coming up is huge. So I would say that Leo Dubois has to play that one.
Definitely. Yeah, the left flank in general is indeed the one that's being exposed usually more. If we have a Turkish left back, it's Emre Tashdemir or Kazımcan, with Abdul Kerim, who likes to drive forward a lot. Sergio on that side, Kerem, you know, it's not the most defensively sound side. So just like you mentioned, it's either a foreign left back or a foreign winger. And we can use the other Turkish winger, because we have 3 capable Turkish wingers to choose from. So that's well covered. You could also maybe say in DM role, if you want to sub out Sergio, you could also still use Berkan. I think he's also has been, steadily becoming better and better.
Yeah,
each time
I
we've
would
seen
say
him.
that's probably our only other option, really. Using Berkan, that's pretty much it. No one else is really,
Yeah.
interchangeable.
Sorry, no Emin Samet.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he's not stepping in for Nelson or
Abdülkerim.
Abdülkerim. Unless Okan Buruk just wants to be a maniac. He just wants to go psycho mode and use Kaan Ayhan instead of Nelson. Be my guest, but I
I almost
doubt
forgot about him. We got Kanayan too. That's right. I
Yeah.
wonder when he's available.
Yeah,
Would it be against
yeah.
Trabzon already?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, he would. He started training with the team already, so he would be a few training sessions in. By the time Sunday comes, but I don't know. Probably not. I would say maybe for the game after that, which is against Gaziantep. Yeah. Overall, I thought it was a good performance. And then one thing I wanted to mention as well for this Ümraniye game, just a minor side note, something I was thinking about during the match. I think there were in this match, I think there were 2 occasions where Sasha Boy had one of his famous shots from outside the box. And I swear, every time he takes it, he gets so friggin' close. I can't wait for him to score one of these. He gets so close every single time. There was I can't remember, no, not last match. I think it was the match before that, where he was like inside the box and just, oh my God, he had a rocket that the keeper ended up saving. Do you remember that on the right-hand side there?
I have to think again. 2 games back, that was against, was it Giresun? It was Giresun, right? Because last game,
this was against, it was against Antalya. Yeah, I remember Antalya had the new keeper there that made the save. But he's always having these amazing shots from range. I'll be so happy for him when he finally scores one, which I have faith that he will. It reminded me of Martin Lines when he scored against Fenerbahce with sort of a longer, he was doing the same. He kind of had these, like on the corner, the ball might have bounced out to him and he had an attempt that the keeper saved or he hit the post or something and then finally scored one. So I don't know. I'm just saying, man, we play Fener at home in a couple months here. So maybe that'll be
probably I hope it's by then not the title deciding game, but hopefully we'll already have sealed the deal. And that game is basically the last game where we say, okay, we're champions and we celebrate it there.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
Yeah, I know. I really hope we don't make this difficult for ourselves. But honestly, just look at today. I mentioned, I was really interested to see the response, and we responded, man. We played the full 90 minutes. We grinded them down. We got the win. They didn't help themselves by getting the red card, keep in mind, but still,
deservedly, by the way. I don't think it was that was deserved. That's just stupid to foul by that player.
For sure. I don't see how that's at all arguable. I mean, it is Turkey after all, so someone will probably find some bullshit excuse for it.
Something,
but
the refs are helping, whatever.
yeah, absolutely. But maybe at that point we can get into the next match briefly, give our predictions, give our quick thoughts. Like I mentioned, it is a massive match.
Before we go, talking about the ref, I think the ref was all right today. Honestly.
Oh yeah, for sure. I read somewhere that it was his second.
Actually.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I read that it was his second Super League match.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate that is. I did read that, so take that with a grain of salt. But I did find that he did well, honestly. I don't think there were any controversial calls that he made
Also,
that I can think of, at least.
He let the game flow a bit more. Like there were a few instances where a player would just lie down. He was like, just play on, nothing here. So yeah, I like that. It also helped that Ümraniye, besides time wasting, weren't really cunts.
Yeah.
They did play. I think they were like a semi-likable team, even though they almost beat us. They're like an okay underdog team. I don't have to urge.
They are a little bit of a likable team, honestly. I'm rooting for them. I'd like to see them get a couple results. Maybe Geraldo can boost his market value. But yeah, I'll
because 9 times out of 10, when these teams are on the back foot or they need to counter, they start to become really physical in like a doggy way, and I'm like, you just start to get frustrated because they might injure your player, or they just get away with a lot of shit because I guess there's the underdog. But Ümraniye, fair play. Even
fair play, absolutely.
I don't know if you saw it too. It's not that special. I hyped it up for no reason. It's not that special. But at the end of the game, when Okan and Recep, their coach, hugged each other, he was like pinching his...
he was pinching his cheek. Yeah, I saw that. I know. That was nice. No, honestly, fair play to Ümraniye. I wish them luck for the rest of the season. I don't know if they will, but if they can escape relegation, I'm all for it. Good on them. But yeah, we have the big one on Sunday.
Trabzon.
Yes, Trabzon. We are at home. They're in 5th currently with 38 points. We're leading the table with 51. This is going to be an interesting one. We played them on August 28th away, of course. It was
a draw,
that finished. Right? Yeah, that finished 0-0. But we're a different team now, and so are they. Honestly, they're a different team as well. But we're not the same as we were back then, and this is going to be difficult for Trabzon, I think. And it's hard for me to imagine losing points. Well, not losing points, losing the match. Anything could happen. It could end in a draw, but I'm, maybe surprisingly confident for this in getting 3 points. We'll see what happens. Thankfully, there's no suspensions, no injuries. Hopefully everyone can stay healthy in training until the match. But I think there could be some fireworks in this one. And if we can get away with 3 points,
that's huge.
I don't know. We're getting close. But what do you think of the match? And give us your predictions as well.
I feel like we're echoing a lot today. As in, I think we'll smash them too.
Mm-hmm.
As weird as it may sound against last week, where I said against the 19th place will be difficult, but this one will be a smash. But I do think so. Trabzon away, as of late, have been dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Hatay, they lost 5-0 to Alanya, 4-1 to Fatih Karagümrük.
Right.
And they have to come again to a foreign place for them. So I do expect to smash them. I'm going to say a 3-0 win. It took a long time for me to think. I say 3-0. As weird as it may sound, maybe I should have said higher, but it's still a big game in the end. And what happens in bigger games, if it's the typical Anadolu way of refereeing, if one side has an advantage, they're going to try to favor the one that's behind, usually, some way. So I think there will be some bullshit decisions in the game. But 3-0, I still expect us to win. Trabzon have not really been that good, honestly.
Yeah. I look at it like this. In big matches, that's when big players shine. That's when big players do their thing. We've seen this against Beşiktaş. We've seen this against Fenerbahçe, of course.
Başakşehir.
We definitely saw it against Başakşehir. They gave them a beating I don't think they'll ever forget. The 10 fans that they have feel bad for them. I don't think they'll ever forget that. But that's what happens, man. And I don't expect anything different here. So I'll give my prediction as a 2-0 win for Galatasaray. And I think that Icardi will score, and I think Mertens will score. And I think we'll be boosted in the table, not only in points, but with morale with 3 points here as well.
Yeah, we'll take revenge for the last game. If I recall correctly, they were a pretty weak side that game, but defended like their life depended on it, and sealed the win that way.
Yeah.
With that, and, I think it was not even Urcan keeping. I think it was the other guy. I forgot his name. With Mark Batra having a sick game too. Oh man.
Yeah, that's right. But like I said, I mean, we're a much different team. They're a much different team, so it'll be good. We'll see what happens. But I think with that said, I think we can begin wrapping things up.
Yep.
We will wrap it up. So we'll talk to everyone on the next one after the big match on Sunday. Thank you everyone for listening. If you're not following us on social media already, it's at the Lions Den GS on Twitter. I have to say, we've been posting some bangers over there. So check it out. If you're not following already, check it out.
Is that a compliment towards yourself?
Yeah, that is. But anyways, thanks everyone for listening. Talk to everyone on the next one. Peace.
Bye.